What two states are shaped like an article of clothing?
Welcome to Parenting Matters Now, a source of parenting advice a few minutes at a time.
Hi, this is Dr. Roger Smith with Parenting Matters Now. I love maps. Maps just, they're curious to me. And I open with this question about two states that are shaped like an article of clothing. And one of them is here on the wall behind me, and it's shaped like a mitten. And that is the state of Michigan. Of course, I live in a state that's shaped like an article of clothing. It is shaped like a boot. That is Louisiana. And so there's a saying, and there's a bumper sticker that was put out by the state of Louisiana that kind of took advantage of that. It says, "Give litter the boot." At any rate, maps really are interesting. In fact, as I look at a map, I don't think of roads and I don't think of landmarks necessarily. My wife and I are very much relational. We like people. And so when I look at a map like this one behind me, I think of the people that live there. And in fact, that's one thing to talk to your children about, is show them a map of where their relatives live. Even if they all live in the same general location, you can show them a map of that area and go, this is where they live and this is where we live. Even in a neighborhood, understanding the lay of the land is very important, and maps is a great way of doing that. And sometimes there are very curious things. I love this little picture to help people know how to locate the state of Kentucky on a map. You know, my state is the boot in this guy, you know, and then there's Arkansas, the pants, and the shirt is Missouri. And so you see this whole guy is the chef, and he's holding in his hand a pan, and it's got Kentucky Fried Chicken on it. And the Kentucky is the fried chicken that's on the plate held by this guy. It's really kind of a funny way of looking at a map and trying to remember which state is which. And so there are map games where map puzzles where you can put together the states, and most of them have something noted on each state, whether it's the capital or something the state is known for. It's just an interesting way of learning and putting the information into the brain so that you know important things, like where do your relatives live? Where do your friends live? If you were to go to someplace important, you know, what are important things about getting there? And I encourage you, whenever you take a family vacation, I know that we don't use maps a lot. We use the GPS. It tells us where to turn. But what we lose in doing that is we lose where we are in the world. We don't have the picture of it. We just know that, you know, it tells us in 26 miles you're going to take exit 42. But having a map where you draw out for your children where the ocean is, where we're going to be when we go to the beach, you know, why do we have to go so far? There are advantages. So I encourage you to introduce maps to your children so that they, as they grow, they know kind of their place in the world. And you don't have to be a map nerd like me to enjoy them, but there are ways that we remember stuff. For me, it's the way I remember people. So, you know, whenever I see New Mexico on a map, I don't think roads. I don't think what the landscape is. It reminds me of the people that live there. And I have a special affinity for each state because of the people that I know there. And whenever you start out, maybe your travel is very, very limited, but still you can know which town has the people that you love or that are important to you. And so that does give us a framework for knowing our place in the world and significance. So significance of distance, significance of, you know, relationships and all these things. So maps is a great way. And sometimes we start out with just curious information, you know, which one looks like a mitten, which one looks like a boot, which ones are by the Great Lakes, which ones are on rivers, which states have mountains, you know, things like that. And they're not just empty facts. They do help us to know important stuff. So introduce your children to maps and help them map their world. It's Dr. Roger Smith with Parenting Matters Now.
Subscribe to Parenting Matters Now for more advice, or go to rogersmithmd.com to search for more topics. See you next time.